All right, all fixed. We are live now, and good afternoon and happy Tuesday, everybody. My name is Leslie Holt. I am the Senior Manager for Social Media here at Bright Horizons and also your host for today's live conversation. Now, today's event is very, very special because we have the opportunity to come together to talk about something great that's happening at Bright Horizons. It is Celebrate Diversity Month. So today's event is so special because we also have the opportunity to introduce you to two very influential people that I'm so excited to be able to speak to today. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to our directors of D&I at Bright Horizons. We have Deborah Harris and Jamie Kirkland. Hello, how are you doing today?
Doing good. How are you, Leslie?
I am pretty good. And I know you all have a very busy schedule and you are always on the go and changing the world. So I appreciate you taking the time to stop and talk to me about all that's happening at Bright Horizons. I really do appreciate it.
Glad to be here.
Cool. Now, I know who you all are, and I know how great you are at what you do and how much of an influence you have on a daily basis. But if you don't mind, would you introduce yourself to our audience and just tell the world who you are, what your position is at Bright Horizons, and how long you've been with the organization?
So I can start, Leslie. I am Deborah Harris. I am here in Houston, Texas. I've been with Bright Horizons for 22 years, started off as a director, and am currently served as an RM as well, and currently serve as a director, one of the directors of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at Bright Horizons.
Hi, my name is Jamie Kirkland. I'm based in Chicago, Illinois. I've been with Bright Horizons now for just over 7 years. My background's in learning and organizational development, and I've been doing inclusion work some way, shape, or form since the early 2000s. So
wow,
my hands and fingers and toes in it for a little while.
I love it. And, you know, I've had the opportunity to work with you all within the D&I space, and I just see all the great things that you do and how you influence so many people and are just able to move the needle, not just in terms of understanding workplace culture in terms of our organization, but applying methods in really practices and processes that really could benefit and affect other organizations outside of Bright Horizons as well. So I'm really excited to be able to have this conversation with you. To go ahead and get us started, you know, it is Celebrate Diversity Month, and I would just love it if you could just tell me, what is the purpose of Celebrate Diversity Month? What is it and why is it important?
So Jamie, I'll let you start with that.
Perfect. Thank you. So this is actually the first year that Bright Horizons is celebrating Diversity Month. We talked about it a little bit last year, but we really ramped up this year. Celebrate Diversity Month started in 2004 by Diversity Best Practices. And what it really seeks to do is take the conversation beyond similarities and connections to really look at the experiences that everyone's bringing to the table and how those different experiences make us a richer teams, richer groups, richer communities. So some of our thinking in the background of why we chose this year to start is because Celebrate Diversity Month and those topics of like going beyond connections and similarities and really looking at our experiences, looking at those differences is really where we are on our journey. We've been doing diversity, equity, inclusion in some way, shape, or form since the early 2000s. And it's really about evolving this year and going beyond those simple connections.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. I love it. You know, so diversity and inclusion, it's such an important tenet of Bright Horizons itself. And I've been with the organization for 6 years, and it's one of the reasons why I decided to join the company was because of the practices that are in place in terms of making people feel included within the workplace. So can you tell me, you know, what does diversity and inclusion look like to employees within our company, and how does Bright Horizons promote inclusivity?
So Leslie, I think the first thing that comes to mind for me is that we, first of all, educate, and we encourage everyone at Bright Horizons to lean in with curiosity and to learn. We have diversity awareness training that's embedded into our onboarding programs. We have specific training for leaders about inclusive leadership, and various other trainings. We have weekly employee advisory group events that also support learning development, so that we as an organization really are embedding DE&I in all we do. And I just say we promote that as we continue to share our inclusion statement. We say it all the time here at Bright Horizons, and it's something that we really try to get people to remember, that we are committed to really creating those inclusive environments where every person has a sense of belonging and can contribute and thrive in meaningful and impactful ways. And so it's just not something that we say. We really try to embed that into our practices every day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I would say that I've had the opportunity to see what those practices look like, ranging from previously I was within a role that was within operations to now being within a role that's more within the corporate environment. So I can see how it translates within across environments, and really varies in terms of how we support families and how we support teachers and how we support employees within the company as well. So I absolutely love it. When it comes to D&I, it's a lot of work, and you all do it so well, and it just seems so effortlessly that you do it. What makes you so passionate about D&I work, and how do you do it?
Well, first, I would say thank you. Deborah and I work really, really hard to make it look very seamless and very smooth. You're right. It is a lot of work. It's a lot of wonderful work. I'll start off, and sorry, I just rolled into this, but I'll start off, Deborah.
Go for it.
My journey for inclusion, it really, really started as a kid in, I'd say, the early 80s, early 90s. I grew up in the South. And came up as a teenager as a queer man in the South. So that didn't always go over so well. And what I took from those experiences after I came out and after I started really embracing who I was and how I fit into the world, I realized there were so many things around systemic racism, homophobia, ageisms, everything that was out there, all of the isms that were out there that were just baked into things that we didn't question. So I was able, through some self-work, to really start to reconcile between my own experiences as a queer man and how I had been othered and how that had impacted my life and my development and my journey and even my relationships. And then when I started to look at the world through that different lens and understand that and start to try to put myself into a place where I say, what are other people's experiences? Mm-hmm. Then that really, really drove into me to make changes in the world and to be an agent for change. Mm-hmm. So I can really get to the crux of what I believe I'm put here to do. Yeah. And that is to help everyone feel like they have a place that they belong. Mm-hmm. I love that's that. Kind of my journey in a nutshell.
Yeah. No, I love that. I'm a firm believer in taking your passion and integrating it into what you do on a daily basis. And I absolutely love that that's how you're fueled to do the work that you do, and it shows. So thank you so much for that, Jamie. How about you, Deborah?
Yeah, I was thinking when Jamie was speaking too, I've been doing this work for a long time. And to be honest, I don't know where it started, but I think innately my passion is just based on my desire to have that all humans just treated with respect and love. Yeah. Everyone is unique and has their own space and purpose in the world. I believe that. And to withhold any part of that uniqueness is to really rob the world of something great. So I think when I think about this work, it really beckons us to see differences to ensure fairness and equitable practices for all. And it provides us with an opportunity to really, I say, see people individually, really see them and allow them to share who they are. At Bright Horizons, we have this slogan, we say, be you. So it's really saying, be you. Yeah. And as an individual, I can't do this if I feel that others don't value me. I can't be myself if I feel that others don't really see me. They don't understand and appreciate my background and my heritage and all the experiences that I bring with me. And, as I'm talking about this, I all the time, I talk about this often, that when I walk into a room, it's like I'm carrying this invisible suitcase and I'm rolling it around. You can't see it, but in that suitcase is everything that makes me who I am. It's all the experiences, the little small town I grew up in, my family, the way they raised me, the passion for my faith that propels me, all of that's just in that suitcase. And of course, that lived experience I have as an African-American woman, just listening to Jamie, it made me think about that and how that lived experience being marginalized and excluded and overlooked and in so many different situations. Those personal experiences also fuel my passion. And I know that the value that when we have the value of having people to really come to the table, use their diverse experiences, unload that suitcase, and really are able to share their experiences, share their perspectives, it really makes for Brighter Horizons, a richer culture. And
Mhm.
when we do that as individuals and we truly show up in the world, it makes us a better place to live. So I think all of that just kind of fuels what I do.
Yeah.
I think that comes through too with Deborah, with working for you. I'm just going to throw some kudos and some shout outs there, because it's been an honor over the last year, just like really being able to get to know you. And I love that analogy of the suitcase, because I think that's the point of connection, right? It's the more you and I connect,
Mhm.
the more we learn about each other, the more we become a team, the more we like learn about each other and those different experiences. It's literally, we've both got our suitcases open. We're going through it. We're like, look at this. Here's a pretty one. It's just a great experience. And I think that is what makes it look so effortless and feel so seamless, what you were talking about earlier, Leslie, because that's what we're doing in the background. We're living inclusively every single day as much as we can. Do we always get it right? No.
Yeah.
We step on toes. When I started training with Deborah years ago, we used to talk about oops and ouches. And we do that sometimes. We do that with other people. We sometimes might do it with ourselves, but it's all about unpacking that suitcase together. When you have that psychological safety in there and you can exhale, and Deborah and I can get into a meeting and be ourselves with one another, we have a good time and we enjoy it.
And I think
not to speak for you.
It's about modeling that for other people too, right? So we are, I mean, we're pretty authentic.
Yeah. And you know what I love is it's two things that you all mentioned. First, when Deborah, I love how you speak so passionately about your experiences and how you bring your whole self to work. And even with the messaging of be you, and I would so consistently use the Bright Horizons, I love how it creates that safe space where it tells people you can be your authentic self, because it's not always easy to do that. You know, depending on where you're from, depending on what your background is, depending on how you feel as though people are going to perceive you, it's not always easy to do that. But I love that we create a space where we do have that psychological safety, as Jamie talked about, and really creating a culture where we say we want people to be their own individual selves and to allow the environment to thrive from the work we do from being ourselves. So I love that so much. Let me ask you, you know, it's great that we have Celebrate Diversity Month. And I love that we as an organization do support diversity and inclusion so much. But what does it look like to go beyond this month in terms of celebrating diversity and ensuring that this is something that does stay consistent?
So I'll just speak first, Jamie. When I think about, and I'll say this not only for Celebrating Diversity Month, but any of the months in the heritage months that we recognize, it's going beyond the celebration of whatever it is and really valuing the diverse experiences each day. So regardless if it's a heritage month, it's every day. I am celebrating you for who you are and the diverse experiences that you bring every day. And I think that's the key to really unlocking that true potential that I talked about for every person at Bright Horizons. And you know, Jamie and I have this thing. We really stole it. I'll say that, but we borrowed it, and it's this acronym that talks about really seeing people and knowing them and protecting them and supporting them. So we really want to make sure when people show up beyond the month, every day we truly see them. That means we're intentionally learning about who they are, their heritage, their experiences. You know, it's getting to know each other. Like Jamie and I were talking about how we work together. It's protecting people, protecting them by allowing them to ask questions and, you know, highlight their problems, really talking and getting into what it means to make sure they're taken care of and supporting their well-being. So all of that, supporting individuals all year long, not with any given month, but just making that a part of our culture.
I love it. I really do love it.
And that's, you know, the work takes practice. It takes consistent practice if you can, but even if it's a start and stop, it's just the practice and the keep going and the keep going. We were talking earlier about, you know, embedding. Deborah said embedding several times, and really that's Celebrate Diversity Month. It's like going beyond. It's really about embedding in the organization. So it's something you feel. It's not something you necessarily see. I think that's what our ultimate goal is here at Bright Horizons, is something that's feel. I can feel that sense of belonging. That's why that's in our inclusion statement. And that takes a lot of work from two sides, the two sides of people having to connect. We don't come into a relationship and automatically have this trust and this basis and this rapport that's built, right? So we have to both come in there and be vulnerable, open, curious, respectful. And we have to do these things sometimes simultaneously. And the more we do that, the more we learn about each other, the more we bring our human selves, our authentic selves, it just gets more and more beautiful.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to note too, like when we think about the great work that we're doing here at Bright Horizons and the way we've been building this into our strategy and our structure and our framework for 20 years, is really remembering that when people do join our team, it takes a little bit of time to get to the point where they're like, okay, yes, I can bring myself fully to work, authentically to work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and that's a good segue to my next question for you all as well, is when it comes to someone who's looking to get started within a D&I space, or someone who's looking to be able to embrace their own journey and be their authentic self within the workplace, what type of advice would you give to someone?
I mean, the first thing that comes to mind for me is what Jamie just said, that curiosity. Bring that curiosity. Be willing to step up, speak up, be vocal, and really lean in and listen to learn. Because I think as we are individually ready to model what we're looking for by expressing that level of curiosity, it's like asking questions, taking that time to be intentional about making connections. To me, that's where it starts.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Yeah. I love that. I really do love that. And I appreciate you all so much for the work that you do. And I thank you for taking time to come by and have a conversation with us today. And, you know, I just love this space of being authentic and being who you are, and supporting other people towards being their authentic self as well. So thank you all so much for having this conversation with me today.
Thanks, Leslie. It was a pleasure.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.